now. So yes, Jeff, I'll pass it over to you for a short intro, and then we'll get going.
Marvelous. Thanks, Niall. Yeah, welcome one and all for another insightful FMF session. As Niall mentioned, I'm Jeff Bacon. I'm based here in Barcelona, part of the FMF family. If you've known me for some years, you will have heard me recommending Revelator long before, in the spirit of transparency, which we'll be talking about today. I started working with Revelator and a key Revelator client family in music. And if you've been following Revelator over the years, you'll be familiar with it as a rights management platform, first and foremost. And when transparency was still a fairly new concept to the music industry, Bruno was pushing that envelope and has remained perennially ahead of the curve. The last 2 years has been very busy dev time and starting to bear fruit in a very interesting period for the industry and society, where rights holders are looking for ways to do more with their catalog and the product of existing efforts, and a stronger desire for transparency and kind of actionable insights. So before I take up too much time, let me hand over to Bruno Guez to give you a guided tour of the future. And please feel free to kind of fire some questions at us. As we go along, we'll try and pick them up, if not at the end. And yeah, Bruno, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you all. My name is Bruno Guez. I'm the CEO and founder of Revelator. We have been working for almost 6-7 years in the marketplace, working alongside on the supply chain, rights management, royalties, and payment, mostly, focusing on providing more transparency and speed in the settlement of royalties and payments to rights holders. We primarily serve record labels and distributors and artist managers on the recorded music side, but now we also have been developing solutions for publishers as well. So I kind of look at it as, from the very early days, I've always looked at it as a digital asset platform, because that's what we're doing today. We're managing digital assets online. And we've always been interested in blockchain technology for the last 5-6 years. It wasn't until about 3 years ago that the strategy really crystallized and we understood that the focus for the distributed ledger solutions would be centered around a mobile application, a mobile wallet, ultimately. So we transform copyright or creative IP into digital asset and unlock the value of the ownership economy. We're living in an era right now where we see the ownership model coming back. Not to append the streaming model, but it's going to be complementary. I think people, have lacked the ability to collect and invest in the artists that they love, and now they'll be able to actually do exactly that. Purchase collectibles and invest in IP or copyright. So we basically bring those copyright, those real world assets on chain, and streamline the governance and the tokenization and the smart contracts, and with wallets, non-custodial wallets. We leverage data from Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all the streaming platforms, cross-platform, and we basically use that to drive underwriting and provide faster liquidity around microloans and advances against royalties, and automate all the fractional split payment around the settlement. And basically, we're sitting at the intersection between decentralized finance applications and tokenization. The platform itself, I call it a digital asset platform, and we basically help you manage all your creative IP in one place. That includes managing your content, your copyright, be able to mint tokens and govern fractional ownership of those IP rights. And we use smart contracts to do that ultimately. We are able to publish and distribute and monetize those assets to marketplaces and DSPs, and give you the ability to track the income, collect royalties, and automate all the split payments to all the rights holders. The digital wallet is a financial super app. Ultimately, it's your tool. It's to manage the tokenization of your assets, and be able to mint the tokens and store, those tokens on your phone, store the rights. The tokens are ultimately a digital representation of your rights, and you're holding custody of those tokens on your phone. When you have 50% share in a song, you'll have 50% of the tokens on your phone for that specific asset. And we're able to kind of manage different types of assets, whether they're fungible or non-fungible, and provide you with different interesting applications around, lending, faster payments. Sorry about that. Faster payments, royalty pools, so you can actually earn interest on your royalties if you wish, and ultimately providing microlending is collateralizing the asset against the loan and automatically repaying that loan from when the royalty settles at the end of the month, and just automating all of that. More recently, we've gotten into the space of producing marketplace infrastructure for digital assets. So people could actually put up a web page, a landing page, or website like a marketplace, and ultimately sell their NFTs or digital assets very easily. So you can manage all that on the back end for Revelator, and then publish, public-facing pages to sell your wares or your digital goods, create digital, experiences for your fans, and provide digital commerce. So we're kind of sitting in between the music economy, the Web2 economy, and the Web3 marketplace. Smart contracts, I believe, will govern very much, the future of creative IP, and really have the opportunity to reshape the IP economy. Fungible tokens and fungible assets, are helping us manage fractional ownership, payments, and funding. And the non-fungible tokens are, providing more access and content and licensing business models and use cases.
So this is non-unique and, sorry, Bruno, to chime in, non-unique and unique assets, effectively. And also, I think, important to crystallize for anyone that perhaps isn't so blockchain savvy on the call. I think a lot of people in the FMF are pretty across it. But, when you talk about putting assets on chain, we're talking about that single source of truth that gives us, enables that to inform financial transactions and the structure of a contract. And if, I want to share my 50% of a song Bruno and I have made with 500 people, my closest friends, that's what's powering that. And I think that's really interesting when there's still a lot of conversation around is blockchain any good if it doesn't fix the global repertoire database problem? That's not what we're interested in so much. It's about the kind of going forward and what this technology can do for artists and songwriters and rights holders in this sphere of kind of payments and finance and fan engagement.
The whole participation in the music industry currently is a lot of insiders, record labels and distributors, interacting with the artists. But now we see a future where you're really able to open up the income participation and the revenue sharing participation with fans, with influencers, with playlist curators, with affiliate marketers, with investors, with lenders, so that all of those income participants can be a wallet, and have a share percentage within a smart contract, and be able to, benefit and participate in that income for whatever good they do in terms of marketing or investing in, or even lending money against future royalties. So we see a world that is a lot more direct, peer-to-peer, in terms of the engagement and interaction between the backers, the fans, of followers that are able to actually fund a project, and be able to provide the ability. Provide the ability for the artist to gain funding and be able to create their intellectual property, their asset, mint it on chain, and issue those tokens, provide the consumers with the ability to listen or consume that content, and be able to automate all the split payments and profit sharing with all the participants in the contract. Instead of talking about it, let's just kind of jump into the demo of the product so you can kind of see it for yourself. And I think what I'll do.
Show with the towel.
There we go. So here we have, oops, sorry about that. Here we have the Revelator platform on the right and the wallet on the left. The wallet actually helps you manage your assets. So you can kind of look at all the different types of assets you have, and you can kind of drill down into those assets and be able to see the list, see what an asset looks like, what type of rights are being collected, what type of money or transactions are being received into this asset, and be able to understand the structure of those rights holders automatically, and be able to always know who owns the rights to this song. So when you actually make a financial transaction to that asset, you can actually see who received money and what their share percentage was. And you can do the same on the web, where you have a web application where you can actually see all the transactions and all the rights holders of that asset at any given time. When you receive royalties, you can see the actual transaction detail of the payment, and you can also see specifically which platforms and income streams or revenue channels participated in that $30 that I just earned. And you can actually understand at a very granular level the transactional reporting for this payment in terms of streams and all the downloads that kind of make up that $30. The platform itself, you can also transfer shares. So let's say I have 20% and I'll actually send 2%, and I want to incentivize somebody to do some marketing for me or to invest in my song, and I can actually share 2% with somebody else. And I'll just confirm a transfer directly from my phone, my wallet, to their wallet, and be able to transfer rights within a minute. And they'll receive, you can see that in this case I sent 2% to Valerie. When I refresh the page, he'll go from 24% to 26%, and then I'll go down to 18%. And all of that is happening on the blockchain. And you can actually see it in your phone on what we call the activity screen, where you're actually able to track, money coming in, money going out, rights, coming in and going out, when someone assigns rights to you, or when you actually share rights with somebody else. So in this case, I'll just refresh the page, and I'll see that in the case of Valerie just got 26%, and now I'm down to 18% of that song. If I send, royalties to this digital asset, and the reason it's a digital asset is because the song has now become a smart contract. And we can do that from the Revelator platform and ultimately assign a contract address and be able to send a payment to a song through the smart contract directly. So going back to the Revelator platform, we now have the notion of the wallet on the platform itself. You can actually, digitally sign a transaction and request money to come out of your account. You can also register a song. Let's say this is an album and I would like to register it on the blockchain. You can actually register that album with ownership and collection rights, be able to scan the QR code and collect royalties coming from streaming platforms directly to that album on your wallet. It becomes ultimately a smart contract. So we know where to point the payment to. Instead of sending it to an individual, now we send it to a contract, and the contract could have 8 people getting paid on the back end.
Or 100 of your top super fans, presumably, or
Exactly.
or 1% to the studio guy that actually helped you out a bit with the production and the writing, and you know, whatever you might want to do with that. Possibilities are endless.
Absolutely. Recently, we've added the ability to support non-fungible tokens directly on the Revelator platform. So now you can actually manage your music IP side by side with your digital assets. You can create a digital asset very easily. You can actually, enter all the metadata, decide what type of asset or NFT you want to create, whether it's a collectible, a license, a music-based NFT, or a video or art. You can decide if it's got a single or multiple tokens on this smart contract. In this case, you might say, I want 10 copies, or 100 copies, or 1,000 copies. And now you can say, there's 1,000 copies available of this asset. You can add the files, add all the metadata, and then be able to provide the ability to unlock a URL once someone purchases it. And you can also add, royalties to receive on secondary market transactions as well. The moment you've done that, you can put it on sale. You can scan the code and then mint the token. You have a wallet balance, always with you on Revelator. So you can actually pay for the transaction and digitally sign the transaction, and then record that on chain, and then make that available directly on a marketplace. So we've actually built our own marketplace recently, and it's still a work in progress, but it's quite, it's pretty amazing to be able to provide the ability to sell your digital asset directly to your fans from a web page, and people can actually purchase it directly, and they can actually see all the different artworks or NFTs or collectibles that you're interested in selling as well. And it'll provide the marketplace in 45 languages, and also have the ability to have a dark mode and light mode. Same with the Revelator platform. It supports 45 languages and can also be localized in different across the globe, but also can have a different appearance if you wanted to work in dark mode or in light mode as well.
I'm speaking with one iconic electronic artist that wants to take his entire back catalogue and every bit of concert footage over the last kind of 30 years and much more besides, and plug it into this. And if you could touch a little, Bruno, on the way Revelator is structuring this. I mean, an NFT in the wild to mint is 200, 300, I think. I saw a price today of another company that just launched their own take on this sort of thing. How does that kind of figure with Revelator in terms of
very
costs?
good question. Ethereum, yeah, very good question. Ethereum is, the primary network where a lot of the NFTs are, being bought and sold and minted. There are other networks like the Flow blockchain or Origin protocol as well. All have kind of different structures. There are ways to bring down the cost and the efficiency for minting tokens using sidechains like XDAI, where you can actually bring down the cost dramatically to pennies and not hundreds of dollars. And I think we'll probably start to see that being used more and more. I think the price of NFTs overall will come down, and the user base over the next 5 years is likely going to go from 200,000 wallets today to millions of wallets, and people will eventually be able to mint tokens at a more reasonable cost, dollars if not pennies, and be able to actually save a lot of energy and compute power and processing power to actually mint those tokens, save the planet a bit more power and energy. But all of that, we're really at the beginning of a new type of peer-to-peer computing, and blockchain-based distribution of digital assets is relatively new, right? I mean, it's been around for what, 3, 4, 5, 6 years now. And remember when streaming came around for the first 3, 4, 5 years, it was still very nascent and not a lot of people were actually, enjoying the benefits of streaming the way today we have over 1 billion people, I think, that are streaming online.
Yeah.
500 million of those are paying. So we'll see the whole digital asset space really increase in size, I think, over the next 5 years. And we'll see a business model around ownership and collecting things from the artists that you love, become a bigger part of the business model in the music industry.
Fantastic, yeah. And yeah, just to reiterate that, I mean, the cost of this will come down both financially and ecologically. It's foundational technology. It takes time to iterate and bed in and work out, where it fits best. And as there is more take up, the costs and all the applications of those costs will come down.
Absolutely. So Revelator is, a distribution platform. You can get content online. You can also deal with digital assets in the same way you can deal with analytics and understanding, where you're earning your money. You can kind of look at your data, whether it's daily consumption data or monthly revenue data as well. You can understand very granularly where the opportunities are for your music, for your releases, for your artists, etc. We have a full analytics section where you can actually manage, all of your catalog and be able to understand, all of the revenue related to all of your assets. And we use that revenue and that consumption data to help you make better decisions on the marketing side, but also help you provide, with faster access to capital, working capital and advances as well. And of course, as you have it, everything is slow when you're doing a demo. And when you're not, it's super fast, right? So let me just refresh my screen. Yeah, we provide different types of analytics, both visualization, in a granular level. So we can kind of look at, as well as revenue data. You can kind of play around and understand what's going on across different platforms and across different artists as well, across different territories.
Revelator's been around long enough, and I think I'm right in saying, the structure and the ways of working. There's an understanding of what a stream in Romania at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday by a freemium subscriber pays versus a different platform in a different country. So you're able to kind of provide daily revenue with a very small margin for error.
Absolutely. You can kind of manage all your content, manage the discography and the analytics and the revenue and the royalties directly from the same platform, making it really simple to actually manage your business online. So one thing I'd like to do today is just kind of show you how a royalty payment can actually work. So let's actually go to the staging environment where we'll actually be able to make a payment directly to a smart contract. I'll select, some songs. Let's say this is $8,000 going to this specific asset, and I might send, more money to this asset. So now I'll actually make 2 payments. So I'm basically paying 2 smart contracts directly, and all the rights holders will receive the money, within minutes. So I just kind of perform the payment, and I should be able to see in my activity, under about 1.5 minutes or so, that I'll receive whatever portion of that song, or that asset, I control or I own or I have tokens for on my wallet. In this case, I think I just disposed 2%, so I should get 18% of that $8,000 as the royalty, and whoever the other rights holders are, will receive their share. So there I received $2,000 for one asset, and I should probably receive, another 20% or so of this this asset here. What's great is when you actually receive money, you get a push notification, so you can see that the payment has come in, and that helps you understand, specifically, where you earned that money and how much your pro rata share of that income, is, which is fantastic. You can just kind of zoom in and understand exactly how you earned that money. So the ability to actually accelerate royalties, is very real. It's, you can actually do it today. The faster you can process the data, the faster you can process the royalties, and the faster all the rights holders can actually receive their pro rata share, through the use of smart contracts to basically split the payments and execute that transaction right away. So wanted to share that with you.
Good stuff. And I imagine there are perhaps some people asking the question, where we're talking about recordings and streaming, can this be applied elsewhere? What about publishing? What about, physical? Can it support?
Yeah,
other...
basically the structure of the metadata for different assets already exists. So this is a publishing asset. It's, similar to the recording. It has a smart contract. You can see who are the interested parties, and, who are, what are the work references, all the information, all the metadata is recorded on chain. What are the different recordings that is using the composition, where the composition is embedded in these recordings, and you can kind of see that across platform. You can see, money coming in to this asset in a similar way, financial transactions, and who are the rights holders. And you can always see the history of rights as it changed hands and moved from, 100% all the way down, to the state of the current rights registry on chain. So the ability to actually keep track of, rights has become a lot easier, because it all happens automatically, using the distributed ledger as the registry, basically, as the ability to record those transactions. So what we're doing is basically recording rights transactions and posting financial transactions against those contracts. We also have the ability to create agreements, not just assets. So if, a producer comes along and, you want to give him, $1,000 to go and produce a song, you can actually record that on chain, scan the QR code, and they'll receive the money. They'll go produce the song. That song becomes the asset. It starts to get monetized, and then it becomes part of your catalog of assets, where you can be tracking the revenue directly to your phone and split the money to the rights holders.
Magic. Yeah, and when we're talking about advancing royalties, Bruno, and you touched on microlending there, what are we talking about? We're the record label, the manager, is it Revelator? Are we connected to a bank or a lending institution? Is it all of the above?
So a couple of things are happening automatically. The data that we receive on a daily basis across, our data warehouse and all the processing that we're doing, you can actually see we've got the full, BI solution running in the background that's processing all of the data. We can actually see, daily what's going on for every asset, for every territory. We can see the audience across platform and understand who are the unique listeners, et cetera. All that data, the streaming data, becomes estimated. So it helps you understand what the value of your assets are, per territory and per DSP. That helps us understand how much money to actually estimate the future earnings of your royalties. So if you receive, for example, if you receive, a million streams, let's say, and you've got an average revenue per stream of 0.005, you can actually collect an advance against that, next month's royalties. And you can do that in different ways. You can do it from the platform, where you can see how much money is available for you to draw down, be able to kind of scan the code and digitally sign that transaction. And you're basically borrowing money against the money that you're going to receive in May or June, based on the royalty settlement. And at that point, we'll reconcile the difference between the money you took out on a daily basis and the money owed to you at the end of the royalty period. Once you have money in your wallet, you can actually cash out. So you can say, okay, I'm going to take $2,500 out, and you can decide if you're going to send it to your PayPal or to a credit card or to a bank account of your choice. And this quarter, we're actually adding a global payment provider and gateway, so that anyone around the world can, in about 190 countries, can connect their bank accounts and be able to receive money directly, wherever they want.
Fantastic. Yeah, and that's something that sometimes comes up as well when I'm talking about this with less au fait people, less au fait with cryptocurrency, perhaps, that we're not paying anyone in Dogecoin or Bitcoin. It's using that technology to in a transactional way to facilitate the payments. So no one has to worry about their royalties losing value overnight or anything like that.
We always pay out in fiat currency, but we use, the tokenization of the asset and the ability to use distributed ledgers, in a crypto way, with cryptography for security, but also when you process, $1,000 of royalties from Spotify, it's always going to equal, 1,000 owned coins. So there's a US pegged, stable coin running in the background that allows, all of our customers to make sure that they receive 1-for-1, with any of the dollar denominated royalties they get. So we use it as a payment token or a payment settlement, mostly for keeping track of the accounting and accuracy in the accounting and posting those transactions to a distributed ledger.
Marvelous.
Jeff, I'm just going to pop in there. There's a couple of questions coming through the chat there. Zvonimir, I'm actually going to go to yours first, as it's quite apt to what Bruno and Jeff are talking about. Can you unmute and put your question to Bruno directly?
Hi.
Thanks.
Okay. Hi there. So I'm listening to this. It's really interesting, and it's something that I've personally been waiting for a long time, but not to spend too much time, because I think that everyone probably here feels like that also. My question is related to the existing catalogs that want to become a part of a similar system, like I mean yours or something like that. And especially from a position, I myself am a producer, but also IT developer, and I run my publishing company. So I am in all shoes, and I've been in all shoes throughout my career. And, I handle a lot of artists, and I know that although I'm totally for the democratization of the process, I know that there are a lot of artists that simply are not interested in anything that concerns any money. You know what I mean? They just want to do what they want to do. And there are people, not the bad kind of people, but the nice kind of people, like that want to help them, produce them or be part of their careers. And then if you have like several such artists, you are in a position, in between a label, a producer, a collective. So you would like to be able to handle a catalog of many copyright owners. So is there a way of creating, more complex contracts that are not necessarily just one too many? So there are like, I don't know, 50 owners of a song, but, with like a tree structure, that there is a one owner of several works. So it's like a more complex, what I mean, ownership structure. Is it possible to create something like that?
Absolutely. In the Revelator contracts, and I'm talking about non-blockchain based contracts, you can define who the payees are, right? So you can have many participants, you can define what are the assets,
Mm-hmm.
that are connected, to this specific work or contract. And then you can define the terms of that contract and define the splits, how you see them, right? So you can say for certain territories, for certain services, for different formats or channels, or perhaps you have a different deal for UGC than you do, or for downloads, I'll give you X. For subscription streaming, I'll give you Y. So you can create a more complex business logic. You can deal with mechanicals as well on copyright law, on minimum and full stat as well. And that ultimately becomes an algorithm that we use in calculating the royalties. You can also...
Perhaps, if I can interrupt, sorry, not to wait. I understand this and this is perfect, but what I meant more is like, if you have a person that is in between someone that at the end gets the royalties and the backers, is there a way to organize the front end or reports so that, I can have, I don't know, one artist that has his 7 assets there, but I want to present him with the royalties of his assets and through me, so that I can report for someone else, if you understand what I mean.
Of course we do that.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course we do that. I mean,
Yes.
Any distributor or aggregator or record label,
Okay.
Can actually use the platform to do royalties for their artists.
Great.
That's the majority of our business, is providing,
Okay.
royalty solutions for distributors and labels ultimately.
Okay, so it will be a part of a B2B arrangement of a sort with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what we already, provide, so you can actually see, different statements that we generate.
Great.
Yeah, and be able to understand, automatically each artist can actually see their own statement and can receive it by email, or that can be posted to their phone if you want as well. You can actually see where you earned the money from that specific statement. So almost like analytics.
So I can go to you DM directly if I have something concrete, in terms of business. Are you the salesperson of the company, or?
I think you'd be talking to me as one of me.
Aha. Okay.
We'll connect up afterwards.
Okay. I also need to do some, because I would probably talk to some people here locally, regionally in my area. I have some quite big publishers that might be really interested in this, and then
where are you based?
I'm now in Croatia, but I'm working a lot with the biggest publisher here in all of this East Europe region, independent publisher. It's called IDM Music Publishing. And it has like territories ex-Yugoslavia, plus now also Poland and Romania. It's quite a big company right now, and we are really progressive and looking for new solutions. So it will be interesting. I will report to the owner, and I'm sort of a guy for digital stuff for them. So okay, great. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Cool. I think there was another. Yeah, I think there was another question coming in from Josephine there. If you want to unmute, Joe, if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks. No, I was just curious what your opinion is on the environmental impact of, NFTs and blockchain and Bitcoin trading, and where you see that headed.
Good question. It's on everybody's mind, obviously. I do think, proof of work is more compute intensive, and we'll see, Ethereum 2.0 move to a proof of stake protocol, consensus protocol, which will, obliterate the whole argument, around how intensive it is to compute and solve those mathematical, problems or challenges, puzzles that proof of work protocol requires. So that will, basically overnight, when Ethereum 2.0, goes to market and migrates to proof of stake, I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore. Obviously,
almost like going from the combustion engine to to the Tesla, but we
Exactly.
want to do it much quicker. We don't want 100 years of the combustion engine first.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Bitcoin's going to change protocol or consensus mechanism. That's nothing you can do about that. But the majority of applications running on blockchains are living on Ethereum-based, protocols. And I think, the whole innovation, in my view, is really happening from applications. Like smart contracts are ultimately applications that are running on a blockchain. So we already see what's called layer 2 solutions, or side chains that are able to process and operate at a fractional, cost and fractional energy requirements. And we'll see more and more of those layer 2 solutions be able to aggregate, all the transactions and then post one transaction and really reduce the cost of transactions on Ethereum. That's one of the main advantages and benefits of layer 2 solutions, both speed and cost reduction in the gas fees. So yes, it's a concern, but I think it's being addressed. And I think, over time, it won't be a concern anymore.
Is the same thing happening on Hyperledger as well?
I'm not too familiar with Hyperledger, but I do know we do support Hyperledger Borrow or any Ethereum EVM compliant Hyperledger instance.
Thanks.
Okay, I think Andy, you have a question too, if you want to unmute and come in. Andy Ferguson.
Hello, Andy.
Yeah, hi.
Yep.
Hi, Bruno and Jeff. Congratulations. Platform and app look really great. I'm just wondering what kind of reaction you're getting from labels and publishers of a considerable size or collection societies. And the question is because I wonder if this seems to be more technology than they want or more transparency than they might want.
Depends which one you're speaking to.
Yeah, I would argue against that because I think 5-10 years ago, I would have said you're absolutely right. But given that there is more transparency in the marketplace today, any rights holder that is not getting, their fair share of transparency and reporting has more options and is able to actually go work with other, competitors to get that transparency and get better services around data reporting and payments. So I think, the majority of the incumbents, realize that, and they have an incentive to provide better services and provide better access to data and better access to reporting. Some of them are still stuck in legacy infrastructure, so it's actually difficult for them to do that. But if they don't migrate, their toolkit and their statements and their reporting, they're basically gonna, be left behind. The majority of the societies we've spoken to and worked with, as well as even the major labels, they're interested in not missing the boat on distributed ledger solutions and blockchain-based distribution, especially with everything that's going on right now around digital assets and NFTs. You have more than $70 million of transactions across 150 artists. 150 artists. It's just the beginning. What do we have? 40 million creators in the world. So, or maybe more, and 250 million songs. There's a lot of assets that could be monetized as digital assets that are just still not there yet. So I think the whole marketplace is understanding and interested in, the digital transformation of the business. And I think it will happen step by step, and it's already happening in my view.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay. Is Andy Robinson, you in there? Oh no, he's okay. Congratulations on a great platform. Okay, well we had kind of scheduled an hour for this. We're almost up. So with that, if there's any more questions from the audience that want to pop in, if not, I will thank Bruno for an amazing presentation. Thanks so much, Bruno. Thanks, Jeff, for your help.
I would like to say also thanks to the whole company and everyone that actually works on the platform. I see that Roman and Oleg are actually logged on, and they're some of our amazing, front-end developers. They should actually feel a lot of pride in the work they're doing. They're doing a fantastic job. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
I just popped our emails in chat for anyone that wants to drop us a line.
I think that actually, can you make sure that goes to everyone, Jeff? I think that
Oh,
just
it's
went
just
through
direct.
to me.
Okay.
Yeah, if you went through to everyone,
Gotcha.
just make sure you can get that. Looks amazing, Bruno. Congrats again, and the team that are here. Looks really, really swish. Everything looks lovely there. I think with that, we can call it an evening. We will have this presentation recorded and up on the community platform by Friday. If anyone wants to go back over this and obviously share it. But yeah, with that, I think it's a big thanks to both Bruno and Jeff. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks, FMF.
thank you.
Okay, and we will be in touch very soon.
Beautiful.
Sounds good.
Have
You
a great
are.
evening, one and
Okay.
all. Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bruno. Take care. Cheers, Jeff.